Oh yeah, Gavin, man, now! Whoa, what? What? Something's coming! I can feel it! Oh my god! The next update! What do you contain?
You already know.
I do? Oh yes, my fellow hunters, hello and welcome. We soon will have the second Rise title update upon us. We will have new monsters. We will have an ending to the story of Narwa and Ibushi. And that's going to be awesome. And within 24 hours' time, well, we will know what's what, or at least we'll know a hell of a lot more. But before then, you know that I cannot resist doing a bit of speculation. I called essentially most of the last update, so here's hoping I can do it again. The reality is I'll probably make myself look like a jackass by being completely wrong, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. Alrighty, so I am going to assume the region will be 3 to 5 monsters. That's what I'm gonna say. Less than the first update, but still an appreciable amount. And based on the file size, well, I can only assume we're gonna get another map. Not a full map, obviously, but a single monster arena map, which makes sense as it would be a bit anticlimactic if, well, the climax happened in just the Coral Palace again. So probably a handful of monsters and a single set-piece map. That kinda seems to be right. I would say it's at minimum 3, simply because of the use of the word several, which is defined as more than 2, but not many more than 2. So I think, yeah, the 3 to 5 region is a fairly solid place to look. Let's get the easy one out the way. The mural in the training room that has every Apex monster on it. Every single creature fixed on that wall, carved in ancient stone, is in the game as an Apex. We got Apex Rathalos and Apex Diablos last time, and they're there at the end, but there is one more at the end, Zinogre. So yes, I would say with absolute 99.999999999 certainty, we will get our final Muriel Apex in Apex Zinogre. More than likely inspired by the Thunderlord himself in deviant form, but in either case, he will likely be something quite special. Especially as he's been left till last, and presumably then is getting the title as most powerful Apex, and that's kinda terrifying. So yeah, Apex Zinogre I think is a very easy slam dunk. Following that then, we have to address, you know, the ending to the story being the rampage as caused by Narwa and Ibushi. So the ending to the story has to be something to do with them, ergo it has to be a hunt to do with them, ergo it's gonna be some kind of new thing Narwa Ibushi-ish, and I did a whole video on this, 20 minutes long, using the mating cycles of the animals they're based on as a basis, looking at all the evidence in the game, all the little tidbits of lore and information, every scrap of knowledge from everywhere about these creatures, the Rampage, and their effect across the history of this area of Monster Hunter, to kinda come to the conclusion that I believe the most likely path here is that Narwa and Ibushi, as a dimorphic species, male and female, significantly different, Narwa larger, I think we're gonna end up with a praying mantis situation where the male gets eaten after the deed is done, or even something like the deep sea anglerfish, of which the male is just tiny compared to the female. It's the little blob on the right. And they essentially diffuse into the female's body, sacrificing themselves so that their species may propagate. Which is very extreme, but I believe that's the likely path here. So in essence, we'll get a Narwa that is a super Narwa, a Narwa enhanced by the essence of 1,000 dead rampage monsters that Ibushi has been collecting, a Narwa that is going all out to defend her clutch. I think that is definitely the chief, theory over either thousands of Narwa Ibushi babies, which would just be small, weaker versions of Narwa and Ibushi. It's not like when two creatures have a child, it's somehow a super hybrid version. No, it's just more of them, right? Obviously, it's Monster Hunter, they can kind of do what they want, but, you know, they like to stay at least somewhat believably realistic, and I feel like the idea of fighting them both at once is neat. Perhaps that could be phase 1, then Narwa desperate sacrifices Ibushi and goes crazy, but in any case, I think we're going to get something Narwa-ish, and the other slight bit of evidence towards that is the Rampage Palamute weapon, and the Rampage, of course, caused by Narwa's electromagnetism, causing monsters to go crazy when she's in heat, and caused by Ibushi destroying the land just for funsies, because both of them believe in, well, if everything is dead, nothing can threaten our clutch, which I guess is sound logic, but also, you know, really? But yeah, in any case, the Rampage Paladin weapon is called the Allmother sword. And I mean, what monster in Rise could be described as the Allmother but Narwa, the Queen of Paradise? So that's where I'm kind of going there. Number 1, Apex Zinogre. Number 2, a super form of Narwa. Let's get a little bit further then, and this is where it gets a little bit more reachy, I would say. But I harken back to a point that I made in my predictions for the first title update. And that point is Dragon. Dragon energy, the dragon element. Or more specifically, the lack of it. In a normal hunt situation, we essentially do not have a dragon monster. In the Rampage we have Ibushi, who fires plenty of dragon energy, he uses it to power himself and his abilities, but even then it's not primarily dragon, he's not the Serpent of Dragon, now is he? And then in a normal hunt situation, the best we can say is probably, well, Kushala Daora with his bit of dragon crackles. But I feel like if we're saying that Kushala Daora, the Dragon of Wind, the Shadow of the Tempest, is actually our most definitive dragon monster, well, that's not exactly the best, is it? So we still need an answer to dragon. We still need a solid, powerful dragon element player, which to me boils down to 2 chief choices with a kind of outside third. The first choice is obviously Deviljho. He completes the Basil and Rajang trio that became a trio in World with Basil's introduction, the big, powerful, oh shit, invader trio, and, well, he obviously comes packed with dragon energy. Despite not being an Elder Dragon, he's threatening enough to be part of an update, he's popular, people really enjoy him and his fight and his equipment, but he's also not, you know, that big of a deal to take away the spotlight from the ending of the story, from whatever happens with Narwa and Ibushi. And I think that's something you do have to consider. If you put in a monster that people will prefer, like an absolute legend, like if they went, yeah, we're going to give you the final form of Narwa, Ibushi and their babies, but also here's Fatalis. People might be a bit more focused on, you know, the god of all monsters, strongest monster, Black Dragon himself. So you kind of have to think a little bit like that. So Deviljho, of course, first. There's nothing really strictly pointing towards him in game, just that obviously Deviljho's roam, they can be everywhere, and he thematically makes sense on both an element and just fight level. The other choice for Dragon then, given that it's now the second update and we need to kind of up the stakes, we need to add powerful monsters, you have to kind of add something that's more potent, more threatening than the Teostra, Kushala, Chameleos Triumvirate. So as they are bottom rung Elder Dragons, you need to kind of add one that's a little bit of a step above that. But nothing crazy above that, so you still leave room for the future. So what's a Elder Dragon that uses Dragon that can be found in any environment that is stronger than those 3 but not ridiculously powerful? Valstrax is so very good, and I will talk about him now, and I love him so much. I would just stop. Probably, I won't. Okay. Valstrax, yes indeed. Of course, how could it not be? He is one of the most loved monsters, full stop, and people miss him. He is from... question mark. No one knows where Valstrax are actually native to. They spend so much time so high in the sky, and they nest atop mountaintops. In the Shrine Ruins, there is a mountaintop nest that's populated by Remobra who like to be where Elder Dragons are, so just saying, I could totally see us fighting him on there and being thrown off the cliff, but that's something I've covered in depth before. But in any case, he is a monster that you can definitely put anywhere because he can be anywhere. He's the rocket-powered Elder Dragon! And that gives him, let's just say, some freedom of movement. Now, it does go a little bit beyond this, and there is two bits of evidence that kind of back this up. Number one, the record relics in the Sandy Plains give us the tiniest little tidbit of a clue. So these relics tell us of an old hunter searching for his hometown, longing to be reuniting with people he's left behind. To cut a long story short, it turns out the Sandy Plains is where his hometown was, it's just kind of been buried. That's what all the building ruins around the place are. However, if we skip to the 9th record, the 9th entry, well... it kind of gives us an answer as to what happened to his people, why the town was abandoned and left to rot and sink and become one with the desert. It goes a little something like this. As the crimson glow falls upon us, our people flee this land, but I promise to survive, that we too may reunite. And I don't need to highlight the main kind of, ooh, there do I? Crimson glow, he says, now highlighting it. This is, I mean, if you have to name a single monster in the entire game that best fits the description Crimson Glow, could it be the Red Comet? Could it be the rocket-powered Elder Dragon that uses red dragon energy to fly? Could it be the Argent Comet? Could it be the glowing twinkle in the sky that makes people go, huh, I wonder what that is? I think maybe it perhaps could be. Now, obviously, again, it could just be a Valstrax passing over, never to be seen again. That is entirely possible, but this seems a little bit too deliberate for it not to be the Sky Comet Dragon, for it not to be, well, the most describable as a red glow. They're seen as giant red comets. I mean, come on now. And a couple more points in Valstrax's favour, at least tangentially, is that his armour used to have a little neat effect where if you got reduced to 2/3 health, well, you got inflicted with Dragon Blight and gained a little bit of an attack buff, and it was, it was neat. But in Rise, because of Resuscitate, give yourself extra attack when you're affected by something, that would work really synergistically well. There's also a few things like Greatsword that would work well taking the hit through Rage Slash to get low to that, so it's quite a fun armor to imagine in Rise, but also have Teostra with Teostra Blessing giving you plus fire. We have Kushala Blessing for plus water and ice element, so getting a Valstrax set that has 2-piece Valstrax Blessing for plus 10% dragon attack makes sense. That also brings into question, are we going to get something for the Thunder, which to me then supports the Super Narwa, because her set, Super Narwa Blessing, plus 10% Thunder element, and then we have all 5 elements covered by 4 Elder Dragons. That's, I think, a nice little mechanical neat bow to tie around the monsters and their armor. And then past this, we have a kind of out-of-game little tidbit. The Japanese Monster Hunter shop online has, so coincidentally, I am completely sure, has actually released a pre-order for a rerun of the Zinogre and, yes, the Valstrax Monster Hunter statues. And look, I could be reading into this, but it seems like a bit of a coincidence when perhaps their popularity might be expected to spike soon for some reason? Huh. So that is my predictions. Obviously the final prediction in any of these videos, which is essentially near impossible to call past the very basic, hey, they might throw a random new monster at us. Okay, there's nothing really we can say about that, because it could just be anything, because it's new and invented. So, yeah, Apex Zinogre, final form Narwa, Valstrax or Devil Joe, random new monster, around the 4 new monsters mark. That is where I am going here, and thus ends my predictions. Let me know what you guys think, like if you enjoyed this, and I will see you, well, about 24 hours now to happily, excitedly tell you everything that is going to be coming, and either being very happy with myself or very embarrassed. Like if you enjoyed this, subscribe for more, and I will see you soon. Oh god, bye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.